Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Real or Imagined Virtual Artist Talk. All right. My name is Mim Fawcett. I'm the Executive Director and Chief Curator here at the Attleboro Arts Museum, and I had the very special honor of curating this exhibition and was delighted to get to know all of the work of our exhibiting artists. For the past 15 minutes, you've been seeing all the pieces that are on view in our gallery, and they were presented in an order that maps to their curatorial placement. The event is being recorded. All guests are asked to remain on mute during the program, but are encouraged to use the chat for questions and comments. So thank you so much. The only folks that will come off of mute are our 6 presenters this evening. Okay, in January of 2021, the Attleboro Arts Museum posted an online national call for artists requesting artwork that reflected the undeniable or dabbled in the hypothetical. After coping with months of hardship, disappointment, and confusion activated by health concerns, social and political issues, US artists had ample fuel, I believe, to explore and respond to our real or imagined theme, and that they did. All right. All right. We had 416 artists from Alaska to Florida and numerous cities and towns in between that digitally submitted 756 works of art for our guest juror, Clare Bell, to review. Clare is the Senior Director of Exhibitions at the Guggenheim Museum. And after careful consideration, 100 works were selected to appear in the museum's Ottmar gallery from June 16th through July 15th. I developed this exhibition theme of real or imagined as a byproduct of our time. Frankly, there were stretches during the past year plus when I was sure that my eyes and ears were deceiving me. The responses of artists to real or imagined included work that was undoubtedly influenced by 2020 and 2021 and extended far beyond that to include childhood memories, struggles with identity, optical illusions, and the profound impact of a soothing seascape. The museum has been mounting an annual exhibition of national work inspired by a range of unique concepts for nearly 15 years. And next year's theme will be announced at the conclusion of this talk. All right. There were a number of different concepts because our national juried show is always open to a variety of concepts based on the theme that's proposed. Many dealt with memory. We had childhood thoughts and fears, of course, social and civic issues, concerns regarding trust, natural beauty. But the thing that I found most interesting was that I'd say 60% of the submissions allowed me to see that everybody really wants to be a superhero. And there are so many concepts that are in the exhibition that show just that. It's really, really interesting. Our juror, guest juror for the exhibition is Clare Bell. Clare is the Senior Director of Exhibitions at the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum. Before her career at the Guggenheim, she served as exhibition manager and researcher for the Roy Lichtenstein Foundation, and as the Deputy Director and Chief Curator at the Museum of the City of New York. Clare is also an adjunct assistant professor at NYU in their graduate program in museum studies. She completely enjoyed reviewing all of the work. And again, it was 756 submissions. So she reviewed all of the work very carefully over a period of weeks and was truly intrigued by the banner of Real or Imagined. And I know that I've sent her photographs of the installation we just opened yesterday, the day before yesterday. And I was so pleased to see the work, I'd like to say in the flesh, but all of her 2D or her virtual submissions come to life within our gallery. All right. In the end, there are pieces from 76 artists in our gallery. They represent 27 states. What I found very interesting was that the magic of the national juried shows, it is magical because of the fact that we're dealing with work from all throughout the country. And time again, every year I see this when we do a national juried show, individuals come into the gallery, our audiences come in and they start taking notes, because what we have available and what we utilize here in the Northeast is quite different than the work that we see from the West Coast. And artists are always taking notes, coming into the gallery inspired by work from another state, from another time zone, from a completely different perspective. And it's quite beautiful for me as a curator to watch that whole process, because there's enjoyment from the work, but there's also inspiration and fuel that that comes in the form of what folks are doing from other territories. So I really do love to see that that response. And I also am delighted to share the museum's gallery with these 76 artists. Okay. Our guest speakers this evening are the Jurors Award winners. Clare was tasked with picking work from all of the submissions and then picking 6 pieces that stood out to her for any particular reason. And this evening, we're very, very lucky to have each of the award winners speaking with us. In alpha order, they will be Peter Campbell, Natasha De Cavera, Ashley Goodwin, Jennifer Lee Halsey, Eric Katzman, and Shizu Lee. You're about to hear from them. And while they are speaking, I'll be sharing images of their work along with an image of their work on view in the gallery to give you some context. And we'll talk a little bit more because, again, this is a national show and we have folks on this Zoom from all over the country. We'll talk a little bit later about how you will get to see the work in its entirety virtually. All right. We're going to begin with Peter Campbell. Peter, I know you're on the call.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm thrilled.
Excellent.
Thrilled to be part of the show.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Peter, can you give us a little bit of background on Persistence of Myth?
This one piece is an oil. It measures 24 by 36 inches, and it also has an attachment, which you can see up in the right-hand corner. The attachment is a photograph of my brother and I, my brother Paul, who recently passed away from ALS. And so this is very poignant, this piece for me, because what it does is it connects us back to our childhood, where I think most art comes from many artists. I think it takes us back to our childhood. There's always connections to that, to things that we have interest in and things that we love. This piece is one piece in a series. I think the other piece that I have is Audubon's Nightmare. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the myth of the history that we were taught when we were children. And this particular piece, which many people would recognize as Davy Crockett at the Alamo, when my brother and I were very young, we bought into it very big. There was Walt Disney's Davy Crockett, there was John Wayne's movie The Alamo, and as I got older and I did more studying, reading, and history, I realized that a lot of the history that we were taught when we were young was not true, particularly situations like the Alamo, where I think now they've discovered research and information from some Mexican soldiers who basically said that Davy Crockett didn't go down swinging like he is in the painting. He actually surrendered and was killed after the battle. But you know, we all had that myth when we were kids. You can see my picture up in the right hand corner. My brother and I have the coonskin cap. We have the plastic rifle on the powder horn and whatever. And so it's really and the figures that you're seeing in there, they're Playmobil figures. And I think anyone who either has children or has grandchildren knows what Playmobil figures are. And they're quite different in a way than the toy soldiers I had when I was a boy. Toy soldiers I had when I was a boy look very much like toy soldiers. These figures, in a sense, are a little disturbing because they've homogenized the figures. All have nice little smiles on their cherub faces, and yet they've got weapons, and you know they have instruments of war. So I'm also trying to get to what the importance of these toy soldiers are to, let's say, young boys. Do they have an effect on us? Do they teach us to be aggressive? So that's a little bit about what that particular piece is about. And there's not much more I'd like to say about it. I like people to have their own interpretations, take away from a piece.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for sharing the information about that, this work. There's the themes that you have are important, and they're also, there's a lot of, there's a strong narrative going on through
Yes.
that piece. So I think it's imperative for the artist to be sharing the concept and the drivers behind
Yeah, I'm
it.
a big believer in the narrative in art. I just think the storytelling part of it, for me anyway, is very, very important. And again, digging into American history, digging into world history, and finding out where do the truths really lie in the stories that we were told when we were kids. And so that's what some of this work is trying to get at.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for sharing with us.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next artist is Natasha De Cavera. And Natasha, I know you're on the call. Zoom, sorry.
I'm here.
There we go. Wonderful. Great.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much. Can you share a little bit of information about Here Was a Bee?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, let me tell you, just looking at the images of all the participating artists, I am so extremely honored to be in such a wonderful collection that you have now at the gallery. And when I saw the call about this show, I thought, wow, it's right up my valley, because with my sculptures, I am exploring the boundary between the reality and the imagination. Because with my sculptures, I like to offer this moment of contemplation and a glimpse of an unseen world, and maybe unexpected recombination of the familiar and the foreign. So this sculpture, Here Was a Bee, she was created a couple of years ago when I was concerned about the bees disappearing. And every time, I hear the news about another hive collapses, it makes me filled with despair. And but lately was as the pandemic hits, I read that the silver lining of the pandemic, that the bees colonies are growing and they're coming back. And then it fills my heart that, we have a better future for all of us. So when I made the sculpture, there is no bee in her hand. You just see her fingers are covered with, it's called luster. So it's a special glaze, it's a silver glaze, which kind of reminds us, maybe it's the silver treasure bee was there. You can also see the glass extensions on her kind of a boat hairdo, and it has some holes in it for these glass extensions to be inserted in. So with these glass pieces, I hope to attract the bees, so they will be so irresistible for the bees that they will come back. And I don't know if you could see me. I was going to show you, because I can see Mim. Can you see me as well?
I can see you, and I think because you're the active speaker, our guests can see you, yes.
Oh, okay. So can you see the sketch? I was going to talk a little bit more about my process, because I am originally from the Ukraine, and I come from a very traditional school, which, of course, if they saw what I'm doing right now, they will probably kick me out from the school because it's not what we did. But the approach is, a traditional approach is to first to make a sketch, and then make a, can you see the maquette?
Yes, yes.
The three-dimensional version of the sculpture, so I know which direction to go, because all of my sculptures, they're hollow, and they're built from slabs, and they need to have some time between the slabs being attached to each other. So this is a little bit of technique for you, and I also like to combine lately my clay sculptures with the glass parts. So this one has glass on her head as well. And she's a bit surprised, a bit sad, but hopeful that the bees will come back.
Thank you, Natasha. It's such a poignant piece, and your description helps to make that even more so for me. So I very much appreciate your information, and having spent quite a bit of time with everyone's work in the gallery, in particular some of the 3D pieces, I've really enjoyed navigating my way through the sculpture, and hearing how the incentive behind the different components just puts it all together for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here and
Much
see
appreciated.
wonderful pieces. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to to Ashley Goodwin. Ashley, I believe you're on the Zoom.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Great.
Hi, my name's Ashley Goodwin. I'm an MFA student at University of Wisconsin in Madison. Just a little bit of history. I have worked with a lot of craft materials my whole art career since high school and on into grad school, which I think has a little bit of connection with this piece. This piece in particular comes out of a lot of research for me in connecting it to how we define our reality and where do those lines transition. So this particular piece of work focuses on deceiving the viewer with connections in history of magic and paranormal and memory. So most people will come and view this piece and see a phone book, packing peanuts, and a fan, and the fan blows over the phone book and the pages flip. But if you spend a little bit of time with the piece, you'll notice that the packing peanuts don't move. And so if you go a little bit closer to the packing peanuts, they're also a little off-shaped. They're not sitting properly, they're just a little off. And that's because in actuality, they are made out of marshmallow. And so this plays a lot with the history of trompe-l'oeil in art and in that connection for me. This piece is also a really big connection to the history of magic in its connection with the magician named the Amazing Randi, who spent a lot of his life working to challenge paranormal and pseudoscientific claims. He is most known to be an advocate against Uri Geller, and Uri Geller is most known for proclaiming to bend spoons with his mind. A lot of my work, I like to try and deceive the viewer through actual physical objects, mainly because we're so accustomed to being deceived through video and through the internet that if it was a virtual component to it, it would be a little, all right, I'm okay with being deceived. But the fact that it is a physical thing, it's a little harder for people to make that jump into believing that it's not real, that it is fake, it's not exactly there. And so that's where this piece is based from.
Thank you, Ashley. I've enjoyed watching our gallery goers come in and stand by the piece and try and figure it out. And
hearing that.
yeah, it's really interesting. It's great. And we've had great traffic since the show opened, which is so nice. And we've had all ages come through. So we've had children who are sort of at eye level with the piece, and parents who say don't touch, but the kids just don't know what to make of it. It's so interesting, and they have fabulous conversations about that. And the parents who are reading our labels understand what you're getting at, and that promotes an even larger conversation with the kids. And that's what this should all be about, actually. So thank you for promoting conversations about art and curiosity.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Wonderful. And thank you for driving all the way from Madison, Wisconsin to Attleboro, Massachusetts to deliver your work.
It was a fun drive.
Oh. All right, we're going to now head south to Jennifer Lee Halsey from Savannah, Georgia. Jennifer.
Hi, I would also like to say that it's been really a wonderful opportunity, whether on Facebook or here or Instagram, to see the other work since I'm in Savannah. I'm from the Northeast originally. I'm from Maine originally, so I have not been to Attleboro yet, though. So one of these times when I go up. But yes, it's been a great pleasure. So this piece is actually a few years old. It was created towards the end of my MFA in jewelry and objects. And but it was from a larger series and just kind of touches on the subjects that my work has always kind of touched on. And so that's why when I saw this call for entry, I was like, oh my word, this is like all my work, but which one would I like to do? So I work mostly in metals, so it falls under jewelry and objects. However, most of my pieces are not actually wearable, but they use the human body as reference for scale. So this is just a kind of funny piece where it's a discussion with myself about authenticity and aura and value. And so this is a series of rings, and the original ring is just a Tiffany & Company ring that I bought off eBay. And I have no idea if it's a real Tiffany's ring. I think I spent maybe $60 on it. So my guess is probably not. But that wasn't really actually what was important to me. What was important to me is that's what it was marketed as one of these cigar band rings that you can still buy from Tiffany's, but the ones today look very different than the ones from the 70s and 80s. Their metal's gotten much more valuable, so the amount of metal in each ring has actually gotten smaller over the years as the prices go up. So there's that disconnect. But also just this idea of brand and what are we actually buying. So In the little video that I provided, I talk a little bit more about the process of casting, since I think a lot of people, even though the jewelry that they own is casted, they don't know actually the process. But so what I did was I made a wax copy of the Tiffany's ring. And then I cast it in all bench scrap that was around my desk. So I don't actually know what the metal content is. It's all silver metal, but some of it was fine silver, sterling silver in there. But I didn't clean it up very well, which was part of the process. And then I made a copy of that one. And I went to the pawn shop and I bought all pawn shop jewelry. It was actually a couple brooches. I only needed one, but that were stamped, hallmarked Mexico 925, which is a specific type of sterling silver. It's the location as well. And so I cast that one. And then I made a copy of that one and cast it in 18 karat gold. So the one on the end, the right, is definitely the most valuable one today, especially, back in 2015 or 16 when I made these pieces. Gold was, I think, $1,300 an ounce. Well, of course, now it's close to $1,900 an ounce. So not only does the metal market fluctuate these prices and our perceived value of these pieces, but as they continue, you'll notice that they get smaller. And I like to explain this part of the casting process, that if you've ever gone into a doctor's office and you've received a photocopy paper and you look at it and you're like, I can't read this. What has happened to this? And it's because it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And so basically entropy comes in. The photocopy or the Xerox loses information and then tries to make up information to fill that in. So these little marks and divots are what I call the artifacts of process, just like those photocopies of documents that you see. And so again, value. And in theory, if I just kept doing this, the ring would get so small. It would disappear at a certain point. So I said that, maybe someday I'll revisit this and just keep doing it with other things that I can cast it in. But yeah, so that's the gist of this piece. Like I said, it's part of a series dealing with casting. So again, value, what do we see as valuable? What do we as a society, gold versus silver, company, brand name versus whatever. So all of it's made up, but it's very enjoyable for me to work in that concept. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's such a provocative piece, it really is. And I do enjoy hearing your perspective on it. And I'm sure you've had several conversations, considering it's a series, with others about their perceptions, the inherent value, the perceived value, why we even attribute that to a particular name, brand. So there's so many ways you can slice and dice the idea. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next artist is Eric Katzman.
Hi, how you doing? I'd like to start by thanking the Attleboro Arts Museum and, of course, Clare Bell and all the staff that put the show together and hung it and organized all of the entries and did all the hard work to make everything so really amazing. So recognize all the folks here, and a big shout out to them. We're just a community trying to get the art on the wall and have great conversations. So when I saw Real and Imagined topic, I realized like this is something I deal with in my process, because a lot of what I do and what I paint has to do with how we filter memory. And memory is an imagined occurrence of what we hope is reality. So for me, the difference between real and imagined is just how much importance we put in our own processing and understanding of what has just occurred. So what's reality is here right now in front of us, and what is imagined is what has passed, or possibility. And I love that friction. I think what that informs me is that even our own reality is subject to the filters and processing of past experiences that inform our understanding of our current process. I started meditating years and years ago. And for me, a lot of my teachers in art school were actually Buddhist and came out of the San Francisco Art Institute. And specifically, a lot of them were taught by the figurative artists, artists of the San Francisco Bay Area in the 50s and 60s. And so they were really, really almost anti reality in the sense that what we see isn't real and what we understand isn't real. And it's so informed by the way we process memory, and that memory informs our reality. And so my own process, I start with formative memories, often in the past, sometimes in the future. And I like to sketch and draw. And so what I do is I refer to a lot of compositions in some of my abstract drawings. And I'll look at those compositions and see how they trigger memories. And through that, what I try to do is pick apart these memories in terms of whether it's I'm interested in the temporal process of the time, I'm interested in the light of the day, I'm interested in the geometric composition of my memories. And then what I do is I start to prune them, much like gardening. I'll have several branches, and then I'll prune them until I get a dominant theme in these abstractions. And sometimes there are actually things that we can see and relate to in normal imagery. And then there's other things that are amalgamations of intuition. And that's pretty much how my process works and how I conceive of my abstract paintings. So that's it. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. And Mim, thank you so much for putting this together. This is a fantastic exhibition. And I'm also honored just to be highlighted in so many strong works. And what a great concept for an exhibition too.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for the kind words and for sharing your art with us. As I said earlier, I really have come to know these pieces so intimately, and I found myself staring at the opacity, the translucent qualities that you have in so many of the forms, and I was really mesmerized by quite a few. So I think you had your hand on me right there. And the volume that's in a piece that I consider so smoky and gentle at the same time. So it's a really engaging canvas. So thank you for sharing it with us.
My pleasure.
All right. Our final speaker this evening is Shizu Lee, and this is Shizu's work. And Shizu and her husband were here for 3 days, 3 long days installing the work.
Yes, we were.
Gallery, yeah, which is I'm very grateful for, and it was an honor to have you here, and I know that it was a packed period of time, your installation. So thank you so much, and please do share the concept here. It's quite wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having me here and in the show. You know, I mean, the space you give to me is it's amazing to fit this work. The natural lights. Look at the picture. The tons of lights like come through the window and light the work up. So actually, movement. It's about it's a site-specific installation piece that rooted in. Like a real ocean view, but it's like a surreal thing of the real thing, right? So it's initially inspired by a Chinese poem. 海上生明月，天涯共此时. It says when the moon rise above the sea level, everybody, no matter where they are, they see the moon and share the moonlight, and then by that moment they connect to each other. So actually during the quarantine, I live in New York City, so this piece are made by October 2020. That was the darkest time in New York. So everybody stay at home, and the vaccine still, the process of vaccine was so slow, and nobody hear like good news at the time. So I stayed at my home for 4 months. I didn't go out, only for like grocery or very essential like activities. So I was like kind of stuck at home, and my friends in in China, in America, from anywhere, kind of trying to comfort me, and they're like sending me some poems that we were really enjoy. So it's quite like an inspiring thing for me to look at the moon, and people say, "Hey, open your window. Tonight's moon is so big and light. Let's take a look." And I was like, "Okay." And then I saw the moonlight. I feel like, wow, that was a big comfort to me. So the heart shape on the wall with a wooden box is kind of like a symbol of the moon. So when with a moon box, so when the sticks start to beat, it has the thunderstorm and also the heartbeat sounds. So it's like dun 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 dun. So it's not only have the shape of the moon, it also have the song. So it's kind of when you hear the song and saw the moon, so the heart is kind of help people to connect to each other. So now, like this time, we are connecting each other because we saw this picture together. So it's kind of the concept of the piece. Yeah. So and when because it's kinetic installation, so when the fans start to move, the waves on the bridge, they will go up and go down. So it's more like a very calming environment for people when they stay around there. They like have a fresh air and also enjoy the movement, like very repeatable, and also have some like nonsense humor in the moment when they move. So yeah, it kind of like that.
Thank you so much, Shizu. We are using your piece as therapy in the gallery.
Yeah, it is. I think it is a therapy for post like kind of post trauma.
Yeah. Yep.
COVID. Yeah.
Yes, and we had a staff member just today go out and say, "I'm going to Shizu's piece, going to stand by the moon."
Abby,
yes.
Abby told me she will do the meditation like every day for 5 minutes.
And she did today, yes, and she
okay.
did.
Okay, great.
So, and it works. It works. It's a fantastic piece. You are one with the piece. The piece is in you. The piece is in your body because of the sound that comes from it. It's really remarkable. So. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's my honor. Yeah.
Thank you. You've been speaking a lot about connectivity, and I am going to move on to the next part of the presentation, which is, am I going the wrong way? No, there we go. I'm going to announce the 2022 National Juried theme. And this is the part where I miss everybody. I miss not being able to have everybody in the gallery, although we are getting back to that. We're at full capacity now, but I really miss being able to have big events because I love announcing the next year's theme and watching all of the artists in particular coming up with their ideas, and I can see it in their faces. So I'm going to really watch the little rectangles and see what we get here. But next year's theme is connectivity. And I'm putting a few prompts out there for you, issues regarding community, technology systems, networks, the grid, pen pals, emotional bonds, Velcro, dating apps, salt and pepper, shaking hands. I don't know if that's a lost move, but it might be. 23andMe, what is your DNA connecting you to? And then taking it in a different direction, loneliness, isolation, social distancing. Now, I want to point out that collaborations are more than welcome. And diptychs, triptychs, this is an example that I found from an artist that I thought would be relevant here, named Kim Triedman, that Diptychs and triptychs are more than welcome for this show. The beauty of our national juried shows is that it's all open to all mediums, sizes, and interpretations. So size, it seems to delight our artists in many ways, but certainly all interpretations, all mediums, take it where you want it to go. Connectivity is something that we've been talking about quite a bit for the past year, and we've all been feeling it in our own way, and I'd love to see what the artists come up with. All right. A little bit of recognition, where it should be a lot of recognition. I want to thank the museum staff. They are amazing. The installation team. This was, our national jury shows are always challenging in the best way, because they, again, bring so many different ideas and concepts to Attleboro. And the installation team responds with care and with great respect for the work. So I appreciate the installation of all of these pieces and the work that went behind them. The Board of Trustees, the museum's Board of Trustees, our juror Clare, the 416 artists for submitting work for their consideration, and to all of the exhibiting artists whose work we showed today. Now, Real or Imagined is in our gallery through July 15th. The museum has free admission, free parking. We are open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the summer. Our address is listed here. If you visit our website, www.attleboroartsmuseum.org, you will, in the coming weeks, see videos of the exhibition. So we'll do mini tours. So you'll get to see all of the pieces in different phases in the gallery. And then we will also be posting footage from each of the award winners. We have videos that they have already created for us describing their work, and that will be posted online. All right. If there are any questions, just in the interest of time, or any comments, if you'd like to enter them in the chat, we will reply to those questions over the next few days. I want to thank everyone who participated in this talk. Also, all of the friends and family that have been here for support. We really do appreciate all of the artists, and we know that behind every artist is someone with a truck or a family member who encourages you to keep going or to put the brush down. So thank you to all the families and friends. I hope you have a good rest of the evening. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mim.
Thank you.
Thank you.